Om Shanti. Thank you, Marcelo. Welcome to everyone. As Marcelo said, this is our eighth and final spiritual conversation for uncertain times. And a big thank you to Marcelo for initiating this. In particular, he was thinking about as our seniors are leaving us, it's time for us to explore the wisdom that exists in all of us. And to come together, especially in this time, to have conversations that are meaningful for us as Brahmins, facing some of the challenges that this period in our transformation is bringing to us. So for those of you who have not been with us, each time I just say what the previous ones have been, and they're all available for you to watch again. We had the first one, financial insecurity, one on emotional eruptions. Number 3 was finding my place. 4, relationship with time. 5 was detached observer when facing obstacles. 6 was fulfilling my potential before the final moments. And 7 was the death of all deaths. And so today, I think it's great that number 8 is our last one. And actually, we've done one a month for 8 months for this entire COVID period of 2020, which is quite amazing. And here we are in December. And it seems quite fitting to me that our final theme would be the concentrated power of love. And I think you will know our guests, not our guests, our brothers and sisters joining us for this conversation today. But for those who don't, I think we all know Sister Meera, who is with us today. I believe you're sitting in the Asia Retreat Center, where she is a director and founder and ever creative instrument for Baba. This is in Malaysia. And I didn't know, but Meera came to Baba in 1968. So I was just a wee girl then, and that was 52 years ago. So welcome, Sister Meera, and especially this topic of concentration, you definitely come to mind for this topic. So that's great. Welcome. Some of you know, I'm hearing sound in the background. Some of you, I think you would know our Sister Valerian, who's been serving at the United Nations in Geneva since 2005, and one of the key players on our BK environmental team, the green team. Been with Baba for 35 years, and I think Valerian is now joining us in France. Is that correct? Yes. So very warm welcome to our Sister Valerian. And Viggo, also 1985, so many years with Baba, from Denmark. Nice to see you, Viggo. So Viggo's taken time out of his day working with Erickson to have this conversation with us, which I think is very special. He lives in, I think it's, how do I say it? I always get it wrong. Aarhus, Denmark, and has been coordinating service there, and a backbone for Nordic service since he came to Baba. So we have 3 beautiful souls, each with a unique perspective, which is kind of the point of these conversations. We have done our best to select people who have different experiences in their Brahmin life so that we can all discover something new. Perfect. Okay, thank you. So how this works is we just usually have 2 questions because we only have about an hour. And I will ask the first question and each of you will respond, and then the second question and you'll each respond, and we'll end with a meditation by our Sister Meera. So the first question, and framing this theme for us, you know, we had the International Silence Retreat recently, and it was based on being Karmatit, and beautiful quotes, both by Brij Mahan Bhai and Sister Mohini, about how the Karmatit stage is actually an expression of love. Our final stage is love. And I think we saw that with Daddy Janki. We've seen that with most of our seniors leaving. And those who knew Brahma Baba, they saw that in him. So we're spending all of this time concentrating our attention, trying to develop this power of concentration for remembrance. And as we concentrate spiritual power in ourselves, it should now be distilled, it should be now transforming into just pure love. So I'd like each of you to speak about your experience of that over your Brahman journey. And we'll begin with you, Sister Meera.
Okay, thank you so much, Judy. And it's nice to be here with all of you for this evening now. And I do agree that in the final experience of karmatic stage is definitely detached and loving. Not just love, but detached love. Means fully involved, detached involvement. And at the same time, not creating any kind of karmic accounts. So the soul is free. And I remember very well, one of the things Mohini Ben said was that even if you have some karmic accounts with a soul, you just have good wishes for that soul. So whatever little bit of account that you have with that soul can be dissolved and only love remains. And as Judy mentioned that, we have seen after Dadi Janki has left the body, Dadi Prakashmani, most of the seniors, now the RCs have stepped up and playing their role very well. It's really beautiful to see all the RCs taking up the role of Dadis and sharing that Baba's love and subtle sustenance to empower souls, but in a different way. Because I was looking at, how Sakar Baba used to sustain souls in the corporeal form. But now the challenge for our seniors to sustain the Brahmin family is through internet. You don't see the people, you don't communicate them personally, but yet you are sharing that God's love, altruistic love through your whole being. I must say that, especially Mohini Ben, since Dadi left the body, she is really playing her role of Dadi very, very accurately. They know even all the RCs. And so my experience is that this spiritual love we are receiving from them from a distance has given so much of power to the soul that I feel that, my mind has become broad, my intellect has become far-sighted, and my heart has enlarged. And so I am able to be on the unlimited and share that equal love for all souls in the world. And so when we say equal love means to appreciate souls, accept souls as they are, appreciate their role, their specialities, and give them the feeling of belonging. And this is what is my experience, that we cannot do anything physically, but our vibrations, our feelings, when we talk to souls, if they can feel the feeling of belonging, if they can have the feeling of, like inclusiveness, if they have the feeling of acceptance, appreciation, they feel that it is God's love and without any expectation. This is the most important thing that we need to see when we are sharing love with others. And that actually makes you feel also abundant. You know, I was thinking one time, how do you activate abundance? So one of the methods for activating abundance, I feel, is to give generously. The more generously you give, the more you become abundant of what you are giving. And you become like a waterfall of love, you know. And that is my experience these days. You know, just be a waterfall of love. So wherever you go, people can feel the presence of Baba, the presence of spiritual vibrations, and they take their sustenance from that. So that is my feeling.
Thank you, Meera. Are you saying that you notice that your feelings have changed?
Yes, yes, definitely. It has become more unlimited, and it has become more altruistic. So not like liking someone, not liking somebody else. There is no pick and choose. And so that results in actually being contented with yourself, others being contented. So that is what is my experience.
Mm. Thank you. I'm going to come back to that, okay? But thank you for that. That's a really lovely start. Thank you, Meera. Valerian, will turn to you now to share your experience of how this concentrated spiritual power is transforming into love. So your experience of this over time. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Judy. Thank you, everyone, for being there. Thank you, Sister Meera, for sharing such beautiful experience. I was remembering Daddy Komarka because she was, the first daddy that I really felt a great impact of in my life in my first months of Gyan. And her concentrated power of love was such that the first time she gave me drishti, I felt I belonged to her family and I was coming back to my aunt. And I felt that this moment in time where I actually had my first drishti from her, because she was coming back from a service tour, was also like an image of the past when in Golden Age, I was also meeting her after a while. And I'm just astonished at this concentrated power of love, of how her love was immense, but how Baba could use her. And I want to share with you another experience, which is when I was my first years of Gyan. So after a few years after this experience, I was an educator for juvenile delinquents. And there was an instance where I had been completely involved in a situation of great violence. There was someone who just was destroying the place I was working in. It was a hostel for delinquents. And the degree of violence was just amazing. Then everybody flew. So basically, I stayed. But what happened was the degree of love that I felt for this soul, which was really Baba tuning in through me into the situation, was such that this soul never thought 1 second of doing anything to me. So for me, this was an amazing experience of Baba's tremendous wave and reality of what love is, even though someone is really acting in the worst possible manner and is putting everybody's life in danger. Baba's love is unconditional, and he was using me, or he was there in that situation, and I was like the screen where this love was felt, and that really stayed with me until now. And when I went to do service in Latin America, there was a lot of loving souls there in comparison with Europe, where people do have love. But in Northern Europe, especially maybe in France, I think the, the, the love for God has been very damaged by the history of the people living in that country. And so when I went to do service in South and then Central America, I could feel a bit like when I was in India, how much love Baba has for these souls, because they stayed with that seed of love protected throughout the cycle. And for me, this was a great lesson of unconditional love to bring into my life and to nurture. And then when Baba took me to do service in the United Nations in Geneva, in a sense, it was a freezer, especially after Costa Rica. It was like sending me in a spiritual freezer. And I was a bit mesmerized by my role there. And I was conversing with Baba. That was when Daddy Kumaka left the body. I used to take her by the hand to the UN saying, maybe you'll have inspiration and you can touch me. But one day I was in a group meeting and it was related to the situation of women, the violence against women. And there was a lady there that wasn't at all remarkable, that wasn't at all someone I knew. But suddenly it was like Baba grasped this soul, and it was his radar, wanted to give that soul the sakash of his love. And I felt totally, overflown with like a huge pipeline of sakash of love coming through me to the soul. And it was a lesson in humility, because what you think is a freezer maybe to you, but for Baba, souls are souls, and he has a special connection with each one. And since then, it's changed the way I understand service, in a sense that, we have the service we like doing, we're comfortable doing. Giving yarn is very nice, but at the UN, you can't give yarn. You have to be really subtle about spirituality there. And so it was a lesson in humility, because I felt how becoming friendly, close, warm, and kind was really allowing Baba's concentrated power of love to be there close to me. And really, when I look at my journey and I see what I think I should be like at the end, I can say that there's a lot missing still. But I mean, love was really what attracted me to Baba. And I agree with Sister Meera, the balance between detachment and love is amazing. But I would say true love is totally detached. The true love, Baba's love is so detached that there is no more question of attachment than when you are in his sakash. So I could say also, like many of you probably, the last years of Daddy Janki was amazing, because she became so soft, so caring, that she was like a very intelligent soul. She kept her wit and her power and her intellect, but she was like a soft teddy bear wanting to hug everyone. And that for me was a great lesson in humility from her also. And I think your second question is also related to ego, but so we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, could go on because love is a favorite subject, but here is how I thought would be worthwhile sharing. Thanks for the question, Judy.
I just ask a little bit more if I can, Valerian. It sounds like in your situation, so those are beautiful experiences of love that you have had. And also very interesting that you would say in this environment, it was very loveful and I felt good. This environment, it was a freezer and I felt a bit dry. And in each situation, of course, Baba was there showing you. So that's the humility. But how is the softness? Are you experiencing a softness developing in you through all these experiences of seeing the different external, but you as the instrument internally?
Yeah, I think this is part of drama's plan, and I think letting go of many, many things is part of becoming whole. And I feel that this inner softness has to develop. I really feel that many of the things that as Brahmins we hung on to, but as a soul I was hanging on to, are quite irrelevant, you know. Um, and I would say that it is such an amazing um, journey we have, where the concentration, it's almost two different questions, because if you were to put concentration and love, you're talking about like electricity and a warm bath in the Bahamas, you know. It's like completely different subjects, but at the same time with Baba, everything unites and binds into one. And I feel that both things are necessary in my life: more concentration and more softness.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Very helpful. I'm going to ask Vigo now, but just before I do, Marcelo is reminding people if there are questions, you put the little asterisks in front so that he is able to catch it and that we could include that at some point. So Vigo, welcome. Very nice to see you. Please tell us a little bit about your experience on this journey of concentrated spiritual power turning into love inside of you.
Yes, thank you, Judy. First of all, I'm sorry if my camera is auto-zooming. Hope you can live with that. And tell me if you get any echoes, because I'm having my...
Echo's good. We will just pretend that you are becoming subtle in front of our very eyes, okay?
Okay. Well, I mean, thank you very much for this invitation and a very interesting topic. And when you send out the invitation with the quotes that you also mentioned, it just struck me that what you are describing there, or what they are describing, Bridge Mohan and was it Ashaben or Mohini Ben, that these are really advanced stages, and I don't think I am there yet, far from. But what I can say is that the experience of Baba's love, of godly love, has been quite seminal in my Brahmin life, in the sense that it has completely determined the rest of my life and my levels of effort. And I think actually, if I look back, it has also liberated me from a lot of struggles and a lot of hard effort making that I maybe otherwise would have been dealing with. And I think it has set a kind of reference point in my life, meaning that, you know, whatever situation and people you are faced with, you always have this reference. You know exactly how sublime the experience of godly love is, and you know that there's always something higher. There's always a higher perspective. And I think I've seen in so many cases that this has always come back to me whenever I was in a situation, that it would always be there in the background as a kind of memory, and it would keep me from being dragged into situations or conflicts. And in that sense, I would say, if just a few experiences throughout my Brahmin life, maybe for seconds, minutes, hours, or even days. This could typically be an Amrit Vela. It could be connected with service. Often it has happened when I traveled. These very, very powerful and very deep experiences of Baba's love and other spiritual experiences have really served as a kind of long-term protection in my life, and has made my journey, I would say, by and large, quite easy in many aspects. Kept me away from competition, jealousy, lust for, position or role, and all of this. And but at the same time, I know that being in that state permanently is something very different, and it's really our, as you have said, all of you, it is our final state, no doubt about that. It's the Bapsaman state. And what I have noticed in recent years, though, maybe especially this year during the COVID-19 situation, and maybe starting a bit before, is that there's an increasing introversion and an increase in my reluctance to pursue my ideas or opinions and impose them on others. I'm more, I tend to sort of more soon back off or just withdraw and accept or accommodate the situation or other people. And in a more natural way than before, I would say. And I think that is maybe something that has more to do with peace and comfort or contentment than with love, really. But this is something I've noticed in my own life, and I feel it's a kind of wave that is sweeping through the Brahmin family. I have heard from others as well that there is the same observation that we tend to be more what can be perceived as more soft, but it's really a kind of detachment and a kind of a conservation of our energy. And I think to some extent it is also simply an effect of aging. I mean, I'm now 56, and I mean, with age you tend to slow down mentally, your responses, you become more introvert, you also become more mature in your responses. I think this applies to everyone, whether they're in Gyan or not, but of course in our case it is expedited by our spiritual efforts. So I think this is all in all my experiences of godly love. I mean, the experiences I've had some of them have been very, very powerful, and I really treasure them and I really consider them to be foundational in my life, and I'm pretty sure that I have a very clear feeling of what we are aiming for, but I must say that keeping it as a permanent stage is really something very, very high, very advanced, because I think to be truly loving constantly in all your relationships, it requires you to be, first of all, uninfluenced, and that's why the detachment comes in that you mentioned. Even this morning, Baba mentioned as you noticed in the blessing, about being under the canopy of protection and then being in this detached and loving state. So there's no doubt that spiritual love is so deeply connected with detachment, as opposed to the worldly love, which is connected with attachment. So it's something very, very special and very different. Before we can reach that stage, we have to at least reach the stage of being uninfluenced, being neutral. Because if we are still influenced by other people, then we are not detached in the true sense of the word, and we will definitely not be able to be loving and have good feelings for everyone. So I think that is maybe the first step to check, or the first checkpoint, really, have I become uninfluenced?
Mhm. Viggo, only at the very end, as you were speaking, did your camera sort of zoom out or make you subtle. Why does it just keeps doing that? Anyways, you were perfectly clear through the whole time you spoke. And this just at the end, as you were about to finish, you just became very subtle. And here you are again, becoming subtle. That's a very nice experience you're describing, and so articulate, about a reluctance to pursue your ideas and opinions as a conservation of energy. So it sounds like you're experiencing the detachment aspect. Could you describe a bit how that connects to love? Is it a feeling for you of love that's associated with that? Where does love come into this experience you're having of this reluctance to pursue?
No, I don't think it is. I think love is a step beyond. I think it's as I said, a more advanced stage. I think I see it, like the whole process of yoga and the effect of Baba's love is to purify the soul, basically, to cleanse it, and remove all the blockages and inhibitions in the soul that prevents us from expressing love in our own right. I mean, we are all as souls independent sources of love, and Baba's love is just simply removing all the blockages. So therefore, it's sort of logical that there's a long time of preparation, just like when you try to flush a pipe that is blocked. You will flush it with water, and suddenly after a while, it will break open. So I think it's very much the same process that happens in our spiritual progress and evolution. We don't find a linear one-to-one progression. It's a kind of long time of preparation and purification, and then eventually, at the very end, we will enjoy that Bab Saman, blissful, absorbed in love state. But I think it's not something Baba has hinted many times. This is only at the end that you will have that experience as a permanent state. Until then, we have to do all the prerequisites, all the steps that have to be accomplished before. And detachment there is certainly one of the prerequisites in all its aspects. And I think that that I described this kind of introversion or higher level of you can say letting go and accepting and accommodating, that is a step towards that detachment.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Meera, so having heard everything from Valerian and our brother Viggo, any comments you would add? But in addition, the second question we move on to now, which is, we've all talked about the experience of love from Baba. You've all talked about how that's activating in yourself and acting as a standard. So we are looking at ourselves, and we can see there's still a journey to be made to this beautiful, only loveful experience. When you look at what's left in you, how is it that love can dissolve these final obstacles, especially of ego, which are these blockages that Viggo described essentially? So offer us the wisdom you're seeing for yourself, what your effort is now in relation to love dissolving these final phases of these final obstacles related to ego.
I think it is very important to understand what is ego before you dissolve it. For me, ego is equal to fear. Why I say that is because ego is a wrong identification I have developed towards myself for a long time. And so when I have developed that attachment to the wrong identification, I have attachment to it. So where there is attachment, there is the fear of losing. And I see that, wherever there is ego, there is a hidden fear, very subtle fear behind ego. Even though people who have ego, they use this, mechanism to hide the lack of self-respect, but it is a defensive mechanism used to threaten others so that their ideas are accepted or their words are accepted. And so this ego is in all of us to some extent or the other. And Baptada has already mentioned the two doors through which Maya comes. Is one, the feeling of being insulted, and the other is arrogance. I am. And so what I experiment these days is that, of course, we all have to get together, we all have to have meetings, sharing, and sometimes it does happen that some people's voice is heard and some people's voice are not heard. And so the person whose voice is not heard, they may have felt that their ego is being challenged. And so I have had this situation a couple of times. And so some souls, when they have this kind of feeling, hurt feeling because of ego, they don't talk out. Because it's a culture, I think, in some culture, they don't talk out. But then they would send a long email, maybe accusing you or complaining or insulting in words, verbal. So what I have been doing is that, I understand the situation of that soul, and from my heart, send lots of love. Because if there is so much of self-respect and so much of love for Baba, I would not want anything for myself. And because there is something missing in the soul, there is the desire of wanting, and when there is not attained, so there is hurt. And so I try to use the power of my thoughts before I say anything verbally or in writing, to send out good wishes, talk to that soul, and soften the bones of the soul with love. And then, if necessary, sometimes you need to ask for forgiveness. Baba says, to bend others, you have to bend yourself. So in certain cases, I may have to ask for forgiveness, or in some cases, I just let go, forgive the souls for whatever they have done, and then finish that story there. So next time when we have any kind of conversation or any kind of interaction, not to hold on to that anymore. I think all Brahmins these days are experiencing their old sanskaras, iron-aided sanskaras emerging with full force. And sometimes when I am not seated on the seat of a self-sovereign, I am being ruled by that sanskara. And so I may not realize it, but then other person may realize it. So we need to give of sustenance in a subtle way that the soul can get back to its seat. One of the enemies that is confronting Brahmin family is ego on different levels. This is why when we were celebrating Deepali, we said, if all Brahmins have this aim in their life, I don't want anything from anyone. Baba has given me everything. I am full content. I just want to give and give. If that is the principle of each Brahmin, I think we can easily create golden age very soon. The golden age is the age of giving, giving and giving. Devata means the one who gives. It is because something is lacking, and that is also because we have not taken that from Baba to lack of recognition. And I like Baba's blessing a few days ago. Baba said that if you want to experience the splendor of the subtle region, you need to have two things. Your mind has to be voiceless, and your intellect should be absolutely refined. What Baba meant by that was that you must have the experience of the essence of love of all relationships. So when that wire of the essence of all relationships, love is experienced by the soul, so the soul doesn't have any more desire. I think it is the desire that leads to so many problems. So my experience is that, you just need to have the aim to take from one Baba and give on. If you have the aim of taking from Baba and also expecting something from someone, you will always have disappointments. So let our hands be always giving. And let me feel the essence, the sweetness of all relationships with Baba. So whoever comes in front of me, whatever relation are missing in their life, they are able to feel that sweetness of love at that time from either soul. And that is what we experience from the dadis, right? From the dadis over a period of time. We were able to experience the love, whatever was missing in our life, that was given to us without asking. So more than peace in the world today, people want love. Because love in the heart unites the heart. Then the mind can gather for peace. That is my experience.
Thank you, Meera. It's, I know that, you are such a loveful soul, so much enthusiasm, and that love really really activates people. And I hear you also describing a softening, like soft relationships through this humility to ask for forgiveness, or even to forgive yourself if there has been an insult, and that this is personal incognito effort to change the feelings. So this softening in the relations is a very lovely expression of this concentrated spiritual power in you.
I have seen Prakash Mani Dadi. Sometimes in India, some sisters will make a mistake. There is a complaint is coming to Dadi. A group of people will come to Dadi to complain. Dadi has such humility in her life. She will ask for forgiveness on behalf of that sister. I am asking you to forgive on behalf of that sister. People used to get melted. What more do you want?
That's beautiful.
Head of the organization is asking forgiveness on behalf of that one sister of the Yagya. So they will just got melted. So we should have the humility to bow down. It's okay.
That's very helpful, Meera. Thank you for that. Valerian, over to you. Tell us a bit about the power of love dissolving obstacles related to ego.
Yes, I reckon that, like I was saying, he finished, viceless, bodiless, viceless, egoless. So egoless is really the most refined stage of spirituality that Brahma Baba showed us the way to achieve from the inside. And what I can say is that body consciousness has got so many different um, special lines of ego, and some of them, as Mirabin was saying, are connected to desires. Some of them are connected to righteousness, the sense of justice, the sense of what you think should be. And it's amazing to see how letting go, and like Viggo was saying, I love the way he expressed it, like opinions are terrible, because if you hang on to your opinion, you're basically running for a fight. So I find that it's an intelligence letting go of ego that we need to activate. So we need to recognize inside that little fragrance of my own ego, that little not right flavor or noise, and immediately be so cautious that we are able to observe and let go of something that is driving us to go in a higher peak in terms of this ego expression, whether through aggressivity or through, some people, they have a tendency to attack. Some people have a tendency to go and gossip about something. So each one of us is different at different times, but the more I develop this inner introspection and awareness of myself as a soul, as a pure soul. And for me, the amazing tool has been silence, because I love so much. Maybe I was more cautious about my love for love because maybe, as we pointed out before through what we talked about, attachment sometimes would get mixed in. But silence, I find something that is like a right. And I only can achieve silence, like Sister Meera was reminding us from the blessing, if my mind is in a good stage and if my intellect is in a good stage. And I'm responsible for my own inner tools, my own inner workers. Baba the other day in the Murli was so beautifully speaking about, our court, and how we need to call our court and look at each one of our special ministers with great amount of love, because this is the force in me that I need to cherish and clean out and make sure that it's working at the best of its capacity. I'm not Daddy Janki, I'm not Daddy Gusar, I'm not Miraben, I'm not Judy. We are all so unique. And I think the unicity or the uniqueness of each one of us is also something that is true about how unique my mind is. And caring for my mind is an act of love. And it's an act of love that ego will really break in and destroy. And I find there are many manifestations, and I don't think it's interesting to go into that because we've done that so long. But I feel that it's this inner power of choosing. There is an American expression that really Baba is using also in the Malay, is you choose to be happy or do you choose to be right? And I think that being intelligent enough to choose to be happy means letting go of being right. So there's a lot to say, but I think that's the essence. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. It sounds like your love for silence is greater than the interest or desire to be right. And so the finding, experiencing the love for that is actually a power to help override, to help keep you very attentive to that little fragrance you said of ego.
Yeah, ego is it's a little bit like, when you have an undesired insect in your home, whether it takes the form of whatever it is, an ant. Baba speaks of ants all the time. It comes in thousands, and they all have a good reason to be there and do their job. And you have to be really aware, so you're infested in a minute. And I think it's the same with all the thoughts and sanskars that are suddenly coming up into you and take the stage over. So yeah, definitely the vibration of silence is the one that will actually bring back this sense of truth and love and peace.
Thank you.
And respect for all of us.
Thank you. Viggo, you're not last. You're first. But the next to speak. So if you can unmute, I don't think you're unmuted. There you go. Yeah, thank you. Tell us your experience.
Yes, I totally agree with what Meera said. Love is really the antithesis of ego and fear. So ego and fear, just like love and attachment, always come together. They are like brother and sister. You will always have one with the other, never alone. The same goes with ego and fear. As soon as there's ego, there will be that shadow of fear. And both are very, very obviously blockages for love. I mean, the flow of love is blocked by this complex. And it's really deep. I mean, how can we get rid of our ego? It's actually a kind of superhuman effort, because it's something I think very, very few people are able to realize, especially outside the BK community, because it's basically, Bob describes it, a living death. I mean, you have to sort of die from your old self, your old self-consciousness. That has to be transformed into soul consciousness. And you have to almost pull yourself out by your own force, out of this quagmire of identification, false identification. And without yoga power, this is completely impossible. I mean, absolutely impossible. I don't think any people we see in this world who are not yogis have managed to do that. They may be able to cultivate their ego, and egos can be more or less gross or subtle or cultivated or not, but to completely eliminate the ego is something very profound. And I really like the what Valerian said about intelligence, because I have often felt the same way, that those who are able to transcend their ego, they have a kind of special divine intelligence. It's an aspect of intelligence which is not sort of analytical or rational. It is something profoundly spiritual, but it is intelligence, no doubt. And it's a very, very high aim. And I also agree with what Meera Ben was suggesting, that the very key to become egoless is contentment. It is really contentment. Unless I have the feeling that Baba has given me everything I could possibly desire. I mean, I have no desires left from this world. I mean, I'm completely fulfilled. Even if I left my body today, I would do it in a state of fulfillment. Unless I have that feeling, I cannot go beyond my ego. I will always be looking for fulfillment from one side or the other, and that will sort of propel this whole ego complex and everything that comes with it. So it's really, really, I don't know, do or die issue. I mean, it's you either you are able to successfully transcend your ego, and there has to be a profound spiritual experience to allow that. Something that always takes you to a higher reference. You know, you are not pulled or dragged or tempted into all these ego games. There's always something higher, something you are striving for, and that allows you to keep outside of it. And I think eventually, when it becomes natural for us, when we truly become egoless, possibly it requires bodilessness as well, but it will. There will be this feeling that I have no pulls, I have no desires. It's I'm equally happy whether I am praised or defamed. It really makes no difference, and I don't need any attention. I don't need any support from anyone, and then I think we can. The blockages will be removed of fear and ego, and then the love can flow through, and then I think it will be Absaman. Then we will be serving in the same ways, but very detached and very loveful.
Thank you, Viggo. That offers a lot of very detailed, specific, a very refined focus on the contentment. Somebody's asking, and I'm going to ask you as our last before we meditate. Somebody's asking in the chat box, what would you suggest to experience the love of God? And as you spoke about this experience of Baba's love, would you just say a few words in response to that question before we end? So, knowing that it requires yoga power to dissolve this, what suggestion would you make for experiencing God's love?
I would definitely say, if you want the deepest experience, it has to be in Amrit Vela, because this is where the window is open to have that really transformative experience of Baba's love. Any other time of the day, of course, it's possible, but it will not have the same effect. And those experiences, they last forever. They are really imperishable. The effect of them and even the recollection of them is so powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. That was for Claudia, who asked that question. Thank you, Viggo.
Judy, I just would like to add two things to that. So in order to experience God's love, what I need to do is to have appreciation for what has been given to me and to be grateful. So if I just practice two things, appreciation and being grateful, gratitude, so that attitude will definitely emerge love for God in your heart.
Thank you, Meera. That's very, very true, isn't it? Our own attitude of openness is generated through gratitude. Valerian, anything you would add to that before we
Yes,
end?
I feel that, Baba's love is a little bit like oxygen, or and it's right, and it's always there, and it's yours. And Baba has this tremendous soft spot for you. And I think that for me, switching away from fear, ego, desires is going to be happening when I tune in. I elevate rights. Baba says, take your rights. It's your right. It's your inheritance. and I have to just sit, admit my whatever mistakes or waste thoughts I was in, and just say, okay, full stop. Now I want to remember my rights. I want to remember God's love. It's my oxygen. And I want to just tune in.
Thank you. Thank you all. I know we've reached the hour and we'll take the extra 10 minutes for meditation together, which we have been doing. But I want to thank each of you, Viggo, for your wisdom and candor and detachment, and Meera for your consistent focus and concentration and determination and insight, deep wisdom, and Valerian, very love-filled, sweet intelligence you've offered. So the three of you together, what a beautiful combination. And I know we will end with meditation. I'm wondering, Marcelo, if you would like everyone to open and say thank you first before we go, because this is our last of 8. And I know others will watch it later, but it's a bit of a tradition that everybody opens up their microphones and their cameras and says goodbye, thank you, Om Shanti, whatever, before we go into meditation, and then we will just leave on a wave of subtle love together. So if that's all right, Marcelo?
Yes.
Okay, everybody open up.
First of all, thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Judy. I think we should all clap. You can all switch on your camera. So if you go to view and put gallery, so you can see the whole family and we all can clap, especially Judy Johnson, but all the panelists, you three were great, really. But also we have so many in the participants. I saw Luciana, Mara. So thank you for all the panelists. Thank you for the translators. And thanks a lot for your energy. And the people behind, Claudia, Ruben, also Maria Paula and others who have helped this idea. Uncertain Times was just an idea, but became 8 sessions, and it's lovely. So now we can
and thank you to Marcelo before you move on, and thank you to Marcelo. Bye.
Baba. So you can all switch on your mic too, and you can put yourselves in gallery view, so you can all...
Microfones, colocar em visão de galeria.
Wait, because Ellen, you are speaking the main...
Hello, sister.
Marcelo,
gratidão por ter aqui. Um momento de reflexão com muito amor.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Om
Shanti, everyone.
Om Shanti. Gratidão.
Om Shanti, mil gracias, bella reunión.
So much love to everyone. So let us have Meera Ben lead us through a beautiful meditation to end.
Vai agora nos levar para uma linda meditação.
Medytacji.
Yes, we have a meditation now with Meera Ben to close off our session, and wish everyone the very best for their continued journey to become soft, loveful beams of light for the world. Thank you, Meera Ben. And we will just end, when you say Om Shanti, we will just end in silence. Okay?
I allow my body to sit comfortably, totally relaxed. I turn my mind within. I allow all the thoughts to fade away at distance. I am a living light, sparkling in the center of my forehead. I am eternal, immortal, imperishable energy. I, the soul, I am the master of this body, my vehicle. I can come into the body, go on the body at my will. Now, in 1 second, I step away from this body. I see myself floating as a tiny point of light beyond this physical world, beyond this world of matter, into the dimension of golden red light. I, the being of light, I am in my home, sweet, silent home. I absorb the serene and sweet silence of my home. In this home of silence, there are many points of light like myself. I am pulled towards one particular light. Closer and closer to the light of God. I touch God's light. Light upon light in silence. Baba, the supreme light, is radiating beams of light filled with love. I am bathing in the waves of the ocean of love. I am lost in the ocean of love. This love that I am experiencing from Baba is so selfless, unlimited, unconditional. I become master ocean of love in the company of Baba. Baba, like the sun of knowledge, is radiating so much light filled with might. I, the soul, I am receiving all these powers from Baba as my rights. In my home, myself and Baba, none other. I enjoy being embraced in the arms of Baba's vibrations and feelings. Baba loves me. Baba fills me with so much of power, so much of peace and love. I feel I am totally empowered and energized. Together with Baba, I radiate these vibrations of God's light, God's love, God's peace out into the world. I am light. I absorb light from the ever-lit light. I radiate light. I am light. I absorb light. I emit light. Feel light. Stay in this awareness. Ignore silence. Now slowly, by the beam of light, being filled with God's love light, I slowly descend from the soul world into the world of matter, and I slowly enter this body and see myself sparkling as a shining point of God's light, giving light and love to the whole world. I am light. I am peace. I am love. Oh, Shanti.